Disney just wrote a check for almost $10 billion to Comcast, their biggest rival. That money is probably going to fund theme parks like Epic Universe and Super Nintendo World, maybe in Spain, maybe in the UK. Also, maybe that Universal Kids Resort over in Texas. And what does Disney get? They get 33% of Hulu. Well, today it looks like there's some big news on the Disney Plus app. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, Jonas J. Campbell here. I'm an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and we're taking a little break from Reedy Creek to talk about Hulu. As you probably heard me say just a moment ago, it looks like Disney is adding Hulu to Disney Plus ahead of a full integration. This story out of the Los Angeles Times by Clara Chan. Subscribers to Disney Plus and Hulu will begin seeing Hulu content on their Disney Plus apps beginning Wednesday. That would be today if you're watching this video today, as Disney prepares to combine the two streaming service into a one-app experience next March. That sounds a lot like our prediction that Hulu would be killed and added into Disney Plus. As part of the beta test, viewers who subscribe to both services will see a designated Hulu streaming tile on Disney Plus, similar to existing tiles for Disney's Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and National Geographic brands. I would look out if I was someone from this brand in particular. Once they click on the tile, subscribers will be able to watch Hulu originals, including Only Murders in the Building, FX series such as The Bear, and next day titles from Disney's linear TV networks like Abbott Elementary, and Hulu Plus with live TV will not be available on Disney Plus as part of Wednesday's rollout. It looks like Hulu will remain a standalone app even after the official integration with Disney Plus next year. That's a good news for people who are kind of allergic to that Disney name right now. The company is also preparing to do the same integration for Disney Plus content on Hulu. Now that's interesting, though company executives have not provided a timeline for that feature. The amazing thing here is Hulu is twice as profitable as Disney right now. An average user on Hulu makes Disney about $12.30, where Disney Plus is close to half that. So as Disney Plus is not profitable and they combine the two services together, I have a sneaking suspicion that Disney Plus is not profitable and will never be profitable, and they're trying to hide it by combining it with Hulu. If I were a shareholder, I would have that question. If I were the incoming CFO of the Walt Disney Company, I would love to have that question answered before we get into a $35 a month streaming service launching next year and starting this whole ordeal over again. Now, we did talk about that massive payment over on That Park Place Live, and I'd like to throw that into the discussion here. Well, let's get into it.
I feel like that's a lot of money to spend all at the same time. Where are they getting all of this money?
Oh, well, that's an excellent question. Where is Universal getting all of this money? Well, Comcast, which owns NBC Universal, which has owns Universal theme parks, has collected a big check from Disney. Anyone want to venture a guess at how much that check is? Oh, wait, it's where is it? $8.61 billion. Ooh. That arrived on Friday.
By the way.
Yes. Well, this is the check that was handed over. This does not complete the sale. Comcast has collected what it hopes will be a first payment from Disney for its stake in Hulu, marking the beginning of a process to value the streamer. Company president Mike Cavanaugh said at a media conference on Monday, so that would have been yesterday. The anticipated $8.61 billion check arrived Friday, he told investors at the UBS media conference in New York City. Disney said that it will acquire the remaining 33% stake in Hulu it doesn't already own from the NBC Universal parent. A deal between Hulu owners established a floor of that amount. Any additional payout or not will depend on the evaluation process underway with both companies and their investment banks. Process moved up to this fall from January of next year, and the Disney check was due the 1st. So some things I don't see mentioned in here is that this also coincides with Disney naming some new board members. Oh, well, maybe I ought to bring that up here.
Because I think there's a little bit of sketchy weirdness there.
Yep. We did mention this on the That Park Place Daily Countdown, but it bears repeating here so we can understand this better. The Walt Disney Company on November 29th, they named 2 board members, and these are ones that just get slotted in. They appointed Morgan Stanley's James P. Gorman and Sir Jeremy Derrick. I don't know if that's Derek or Derrick. I'm going to assume Derek because I'm just very Anglo in that way. Morgan Stanley right here is one of the investment banks that's in charge of valuing Hulu. And James P. Gorman, is the Gorman and Morgan. That never comes up, I'm sure. He's one of the guys that is in charge of Morgan Stanley. In fact, he's the CEO of Morgan Stanley.
Oh.
And Morgan Stanley is presumably the investment bank that Disney hired, as opposed to J.P. Morgan. Oh man, that's hilarious. J.P. Gorman is the CEO of Morgan Stanley, which is in competition with J.P. Morgan. Wow, is the AI broken?
I think so. I think it just ran out of names, right? Just couldn't figure it out.
This is amazing. This is like the whole situation with Bob Iger, who stepped down, and then Bob Chapek became CEO, and then he was replaced by Bob Iger, and of course we have Brian Roberts, also another Bob, essentially here, and then there's of course the CEO of Paramount, not Paramount Global, but Paramount, the distributor. His name is I believe also Brian. So we've got a lot of Brians and Bobs, and apparently we have a JP Gorman in competition with a JP Morgan. Amazing. Sorry, whoever's running the simulation here, you need to get this all straightened out so that we can all follow the characters a little bit better. Now, to get back to the issue at hand, Hulu's valuation, obviously highly debated. Comcast thinks that Hulu is worth more like $70 billion, which would put that 1/3 stake around $23 billion. So, and Disney, and I think Morgan Stanley, because this is probably why they hired Morgan Stanley, thinks it's more like $27 billion, which is where they get that $9 billion minus what Disney says that Comcast owes them, down to $8.6 billion. So the question here, of course, is whether or not Disney will need to hand over a check for, well, let's check this, around $16 billion, or whether or not they'll need to hand over another check for around, I don't know, $6 or $7 billion, or whether it's going to be like Bob Iger said on the stage at DealBook, around $9 billion altogether. So, a little bit just chump change, a few billion between friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that one of the reasons, and I need to explain real quickly, is the reason that they only got $8.61 billion in this first check is because they stopped paying their maintenance fee for Hulu operation. Universal did, I should say, or Comcast, I should say. So they took a small deduction for that from the check that they sent them initially, at least according to the early reports. So I thought that was fascinating. But
and that is fascinating, because the whole situation. So Comcast bought NBC Universal and found out that they had a stake in Hulu. And at that time, they also found out that because of the arrangements between the 66% of Hulu that is now held by Disney, they had made arrangements so that minority shareholders have absolutely no say in the running of Hulu. So Brian Roberts, and any decisions he would want to make on behalf of the entity that he owns, if you own 33% of a multi-billion-dollar company, you might want to have some say in how it's run. Nope, no dice. You don't get to. In fact, I believe Kevin Mayer might have been running Hulu at that point, or it could have been, if I have my history right, Jason Kilar, who later became the president of Warner Brothers, chief executive officer of Warner Brothers, Project Popcorn, where they put movies straight to theaters and straight to streaming at the same time. Same guy. So he was the one who came up with Hulu, which more power to him that he got into the streaming game in I'm going to say a low stakes way before everybody saw this as a gold rush. He had the foresight to say, you know what, this is what we're going to do. And he built a great streaming service that is probably one of the few actually profitable streaming services out there. Of course, we will never fully know, except for the fact that it looks like Disney is probably going to admit that Disney Plus is a failure by merging it with Hulu, which, by the way, we've seen from the SEC filings that the revenue on Disney Plus is about half of what it is on Hulu. And that there's no marking there for whether or not that includes the 33% that goes to Comcast.
And the other fascinating thing here to me is that Disney has essentially been fleeced by Comcast twice over the same stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that is kind of an ironic thing there.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that culture?
Well, no, just to add to this, I mean, the reason that Disney paid so much for Fox and all of its assets is because Comcast decided, well, you know what, we should probably have this so we can exercise and flex a little bit more muscle in this space. And they were hot on the trail of doing this. So Disney didn't want to bid the extra $17 billion that they got talked into, but they had to in order to keep Comcast from acquiring, Fox and all of the, well, and obviously the other piece of interest in Hulu. So they overbid, and it cost them desperately. So it's quite possible that Disney will be fleeced over Hulu twice.
The original deal for Fox, just to put it in perspective of how fleeced they were, was around $30 billion. I believe the initial bid was about $35 billion going to Rupert Murdoch there for the Fox assets. And
I think closer to 50.
Yeah, I think that they came in around 46 billion. If I'm not.
Oh, was it 40? Okay. All
yeah,
right.
I think yeah, and then they had to offer a premium, and then you had some people wanting in on the deal, and then Comcast comes in and goes, nah, and then we're going to pay this much for it. And Disney says, Iger goes, no. So no, I'm serious. Bob Iger, this was the Fox deal was probably the most catastrophic thing for them financially that they could have possibly pursued.
Right. To just put a nice bow on that, the other day when Bob Iger got up at the Deal Book Summit, now he gets to he slightly threw shade at Bob Chapek by saying, well, the balance sheet wasn't very healthy. The balance sheet is much healthier today than it was during my predecessor. Well, who set up the balance sheet to have massive amounts of debt by paying $70 billion in cash and equity in order to buy Fox? I believe that was Bob. Sorry, I get them confused. Bob Iger's decision.
Yes.
In order to do that.
Yeah, and funny thing is, Bob, if you want to go and give a little bit more information at your Deal Book talk, which you probably should have, and spoke a little bit more kindly towards Elon Musk, but that's an aside.
Hey, Bob.
You probably should have, given some credit to Mr. Chapek, because he was the reason that you had a stock price that, was vastly higher than it is now.
Well, thank you very much for staying to the end of the video. If you like this video, please consider hitting that like button. We do appreciate it. And of course, share this out on social media if you know someone who might be interested in this kind of discussion. And of course, you there who stuck around to the end of this, consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.